It's all following the same threads of my interests about, love and connection. And this was a like immediate post-pandemic project. Everyone was very lonely and isolated, and I was not because I lived with other people. I lived with my husband, but we had two roommates, and my roommate and I both got pregnant while we were in quarantine, and then we had our babies, and just how much easier it was to have four adults instead of two adults with babies. It was just like remarkably so much easier. There were like opportunities to sleep that I think two parents don't get to have. There were opportunities to like I couldn't breastfeed, which I'm sorry to say breastfeed on your show, but like I couldn't, and I didn't know I wasn't going to be able to, and I was heartbroken. But my roommate had a bunch of breast milk she wasn't using because she had moved her kid to formula. So I got to breastfeed my kid like with her breast milk, which was just like just an incredible gift that there are all of these little gifts that it was like, I feel sad that people, especially new parents, don't have like this type of community. It's so small, but it's actually so easy. And in fact, when we were coming together, when humans were beginning as a species and were becoming a species, you had people had children when they were 14, and they had both parents and grandparents who would be around to like help with children. Children are not really supposed to be raised by two people. They're supposed to be raised by lots of people. I mean, you've heard that it takes a village thing before. And uh and then there's also the not having children of it all, and how people who, when we don't have children, like are abandoned by friends who have children. It's just like, how do we stay together and like take care of each other? This was the question. And also, I am very frustrated that the myth of the nuclear family persists in 2025 when it's just been disproven as a functional, model for the last 50 years. It's really doesn't work. So I wanted to see how other people were doing family in alternative ways. I wanted to research cross-cultural examples, world examples. I wanted to talk to people who were raising kids in alternative spaces, or not raising kids, or figuring out how to do things in ways that aren't part of the standard narrative. So I was really curious about all of that, wanted to research it. Also had a nice experience during COVID and wanted to milk it for practical. This book has fewer illustrations than my previous books, and I did want it to have more, but the editor sort of thought it would work better as a like less illustrated book, um, which is fine. It's great. It ended up being a book I feel really proud of. It was, honestly, like when I started the project, it was way too big. And isn't this often the case with a nonfiction project? Is like the umbrella was gigantic. I had all kinds of things under there that I was like, oh, and I want to talk about, yeah, the history of wet nurses, because I had had that breastfeeding experience. And I want to talk about romantic friendships among 18th century Victorian women. I want to talk about, um, people who live in small communes, but none of that was gonna fit. So the process was like gathering. You start by gathering. It's like you take everything out of your brain closet and put it on the ground, and you're like, wow, I got a lot of stuff. And then you get a bunch of Tupperwares, like huge Tupperwares, really big ones, and you decide like what you're gonna keep by labeling the Tupperwares. Like, all right, I'm keeping everything about the science of friendship. I'm keeping everything about boundaries. I'm keeping everything about how to ask for help. And I'm letting go of sort of these strands about human touch or whatever. So it was really actually kind of hard to do that culling process and letting go of a bunch of the topics I was very curious about, and had even done a bunch of writing about it at that point. And realize, okay, the umbrella is smaller. And as the umbrella shrunk, it was like, this is a self-help book. Like this book is for people. The there's a purpose here, and the purpose is for people who are spread too thin and are wanting ease and connection, like what can they actionably do today that will help them move toward the type of community they want to be a part of. And you know, it's in. So I have had a bunch of reviews for this book. Two of them were medium, like not positive, not negative. And those two sort of medium reviews had opposite complaints. One of them said, well, she's not research. She hasn't like explained how communal living has failed in the past. And the other one was like, these ideas are too, like everyone already knows how to do all these things. There's nothing new here. So one person was like way too radical. None of this will work because it's never worked. And this other person was like not radical enough. This isn't giving us anything new. And it's like that's the tension is we're all coming to this from different perspectives. To that first reviewer's point, this is not a book about forming communes or like communal living or like, everybody breastfeeds each other's babies. Like, this is meant to be a small scale. What can you do in your house now to be less panicked about your life as a small family? Like, how can you grow your family outside the nuclear model? How can you choose your family and develop relationships that we haven't traditionally talked about, which I'm calling kinship relationships? That's the question. And I wanted to make the answer simple. That's what I wanted. My favorite interviews were with this. It's going to be hard to put it into words, so you guys will just have to read this book. But it was 5 people, and it started as sort of a polyamorous relationship. The way they all met is just on its own very interesting and worth reading the book just for the plot of their 5-person romance, which spans 2 states and is just very interesting and non-traditional, and like how did we get here. One person in the relationship wanted to have a kid, and the 2 people she was partnered with weren't sure about having a kid. And her best friend, who was also in this 5-person relationship but not romantically entangled with her, but was romantically entangled with somebody else, and I mean it's like really it's like a really fun little web, um said, I'm your best friend and I think you should have a kid, and I'm going to help you have a kid. Like, I will help you take care of this kid, and you don't need permission from your other partners. Like, we can make this work. The person who wanted to have the kid had endometriosis, I think, and it needed to happen like now, but for her body. And I interviewed them through the whole process of like getting pregnant while they were pregnant, like having their new baby, through the first months of their new baby's life, all the way till now their baby's like almost a year. Maybe their baby's over a year now, but I was interviewing them till their baby was like fairly grown. They had navigated all of these different, you know, legal systems and conversations with mediators about how to make this work for everybody, and they have done it. Like, it's really inspiring. I cried a lot during the interview because it's really inspiring. You could tell how these people really loved each other and also had different needs and different wants, and were just like working very hard to figure out how everyone was going to have to compromise, but at the end everyone would still be prioritizing the relationship. This kid is going to be very, very loved. Like, this kid is loved by so many people. There are so many people in his life. And there's like parents, there's grandparents, but there's also these 5 people and all of their different relationships. And everyone wants this kid to feel totally accepted and valued. And it's really moving to hear them all talk about this kid from when he was just an idea, to like now he's a full human. So that those people, all 5 of them, were really interesting and so wise, and also like they were doing something really new, and there's no guidebook for it. So having their story feels helpful in case there's people out there who are interested in, I want to have a kid, but I don't really know how to have a kid because my husband doesn't want to have a kid. My wife doesn't want to have a kid. I don't have a husband or wife. My sister lives with me and I want to have a kid and she wants to have a kid, but we're not together. We don't have partners. Like, is there a way for us to do that? Like, the answer is yeah. There's even an answer that's like, yeah, you can have children in your life without having children. And that's really important too. Like, if you don't want to have children, you can still find people to partner with who want more adults in their children's life. All the research says that children are better off with more adults in their life. Like, more adults equal, as long as these adults are not abusive, more adults equals healthier outcomes for a child because they're seeing all these different ways of being in the world that's actually really good for them. So this is another strike against nuclear family. Like, that's just two adults and whoever your weird teachers are at school if you're sending your kid to school.